most amazing artist. I hope you are having an awesome day today. Welcome to a brand new project. This project is inspired by Klee and his beautiful cityscapes. If we look at his cityscapes, he uses a lot of different geometric shapes. And he uses lots of different lines. He uses a lot of straight lines, but they could be horizontal, they could be vertical, maybe they are diagonal. Today we're going to do some printmaking to create our cityscape. So what I have in front of me is a brown piece of paper. You can use any colored paper that you want to. I just want to use brown today. I also have some black paint and a little piece of cereal box that I cut into a rectangle. If you're at home and you don't have paint or cereal box or some kind of chipboard box that you could cut into a small square, then you could just use a black marker to draw your cityscape. You could use a black crayon or a black Sharpie. We just want to make sure that it's black so that our lines for our cityscape and our shapes really stand out once we add color to it next week. I also have a pencil to write my name, and since I'm going to be using paint, I also have a messy mat under my work so that I don't get any mess on my table. That's everything we're going to need today, so let's go ahead and get started. If you are drawing your cityscape, then you're just going to want to focus on using straight lines and geometric shapes, just like I'm going to do with my little piece of cereal box. What I want to do is I'm just going to dip one edge. It doesn't matter which edge you dip it in, and I'm going to start jumping up and down in my black paint. And that's creating some beautiful straight lines for me. And you can make your buildings any kinds of shape that you want to. Maybe you want a really tall building, maybe you want some shorter buildings. It really depends on what you would like to do for your artwork. Once you have some paint on one side of your cereal box, then I am going to start just stamping it on my paper. So there is one vertical straight line. Now I'm going to start with a building because this is a cityscape after all. It's going to be a picture of a city. So I am going to make the first line for my building, my very first building. So I'm just going to keep dipping it and stamping it. And it's okay if it's a little bit wobbly. And I'm going to bring it up. And I think that's how tall I want my first building to be. And so I can now do a horizontal line to be the top of my building and then go back down again. So there is my first building. And I might add something at the top of this, but let me just start with the base of my buildings first, and then I can add more lines and shapes to the inside of them later. And I want to do my next building, and I'm going to do it touching my last one that I did. So I'm going to start with the top of my building, and then I'm going to use some vertical lines and bring it down again. So it looks like I have enough room for maybe 3 buildings in my cityscape, and I want this one to be a little bit taller again, so I'm going to stamp right next to my last building that I did. And I want it to be just a little bit taller, and do a horizontal line to be the top of my building, and then use some more vertical lines to bring it all the way down to the bottom of my paper. Okay, so there are the basic shapes for my buildings. Now I can go back in with my black paint and my rectangle here, and I can start adding, I don't know, maybe I want to do some diagonal lines. Maybe I want to do an X right here at the bottom. Klee used a lot of triangles and rectangles and squares in his artwork, so that's why we're using a straight edge or a straight line to make our shapes. We're not really going to use any shapes that have any curved lines like circles or hearts. We are going to stick with just shapes that are using straight lines. So I'm just using my cereal box and I'm doing whatever my heart is telling me to do. Maybe I want to do some diagonal lines. Maybe I want to do some horizontal lines. Maybe at the top here I want to do all vertical lines, just like that. You can do this in any way that you want to. We just want to make sure that our lines are not too close together, because next week we're going to paint all these tiny little spaces, and if we have too teeny tiny of spaces, it's going to be a little bit tricky to paint next time. So just be mindful of that. I think I want to put a triangle up here at the top of this building, but it looks like this side of my cereal box is a little bit too long, so I can go to the shorter edge if I want to and dip it in my paint and then make my triangle up here at the top. There we go. That looks pretty good. And I'm going to be using horizontal lines, diagonal lines, and vertical lines in my second building and my third building using the same exact stamping technique. And then I'll be right back to show you what it looks like. My buildings done. So maybe you have enough room to do 4 buildings or maybe even 5 buildings. We just want to fill up most of our paper with our beautiful Paul Klee buildings to create our cityscape using diagonal lines, horizontal lines, and vertical lines. And now that I've added all my lines, I can start to see some rectangles, I see some triangles and squares, just like how Paul Klee used in his cityscapes. I hope you guys have a lot of fun creating your buildings today, whether you're doing it with this printmaking technique that Miss M did, or you're just drawing your buildings with whatever materials you have at home. I hope you have a lot of fun. I can't wait to see how it turns out. I know it's going to be amazing because you guys are amazing. All right, I'll see you guys next time. Bye, guys.